Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Richard's Podcast Land. And today we'll be having Max Herzfeld that is going to be our guest for the interview. But before we get started, how are you doing today so far?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure. It's such an honor to have you here in my podcast series. I really appreciate it. Yeah. I
Thank
have
you
a
for
lot
asking
of,
me.
you're very much welcome. I have a lot of questions to ask you about your career and some simple stuff. Now, further than ado, let's get started, shall we? So, here's my first question. What's it like to become a voice actor in many video games that you voiced at?
It's a challenging experience. It's a lot of work, but it's very satisfying. It's surreal in a lot of ways to see a character outside of you that also in some ways is you. And it's a wonderful self-awareness broadening of seeing the kind of roles that I can play that I didn't expect to be able to play when I first started with voice acting.
Wow, that's really great to hear. I'm really glad to hear your whole experience so far in voiceover, which leads me to the most important question I need to ask. How did you became interested in acting and what inspired you to pursue this as your career? Since where did this all started?
Great question. Way back when I was very little, my mom took me to see a live stage musical called Phantom. It's based on the same book as Phantom of the Opera by Andrew Lloyd Webber, but Phantom is written by Kopit and Yeston and is a completely separate musical. And in that show, there's a flashback ballet that talks about the history of the Phantom as a child. So that was my first real experience seeing a child on stage. And the effect that had on me was like, oh, I saw myself on stage and I thought I could do that. And ever since then, I've really wanted to perform and tell stories and be part of those fantastic journeys. And when that really flipped into primarily focused on voice acting was during the shutdown. And when theater became no longer available, I looked for alternate ways to continue performing. And I found Steve Bloom's advertisement for Bloombox Studios, which made the education and getting started with voice acting very accessible.
Well, that's really great to hear that. I'm really glad to hear your whole experience in theater and stuff. Say, speaking of theater, do you have a favorite role that you played at your local auditorium? Like which one is your most favorite that you enjoyed performing in front of the whole audience?
My absolute favorite role that I've played on stage would have to be the baker in Into the Woods. It was such a connected experience, and being able to share that text with an audience felt so real and so important. And I would love to play that role again someday.
Well, that's really great to hear. I mean, theater is one of the most best and most good opportunities that everyone wants to perform in front of the whole audience. Like some of them could be scared because they're not as comfortable performing in front of people. And usually getting familiar with the scripts would be kind of hard because some scenes could be very emotional and stuff. But I'm really happy to hear your whole experience so far. Speaking of Steve Bloom, how is it like working with him? Because I do remember like you mentioned me that you did work with him in his voiceover classes. Like, what is your best times that you enjoyed working with him at his voiceover workshop?
Great question. I um, because the Bloombox Studio lessons are pre-recorded, it wasn't so much in real time with him, but Steve is such an amazing human being that inspired me very much and really created a lot of foundational mindset work that I bring to my voice acting every day, primarily with an attitude of gratitude and focusing on the things that I can control. Because with voice acting, so many things are outside of what we have influence over, like what roles we get cast in, or like hundreds of people can be wildly talented and still only one person can get the role. So it's being grateful for having those opportunities and for the roles that we do get given to us as our careers proceed and go on. So I really attribute a lot of my mindset and development to Steve Bloom and his amazing presence and his kindness.
Yeah, Steve Bloom is such a legend. I mean, he is one of the most best recommendations that everyone is looking forward to. If they're like serious about getting to a career in voiceover, taking the classes with him is the best way to start. Trust me.
He's an excellent teacher.
Yeah, such an awesome guy. Say, speaking of him, I do remember that you did the took voiceover classes with the other legendary Crispin Freeman. Like, how's it like working with him?
He's amazing. I still use tools that I gained from my very first group lesson with him through voice acting mastery. And I listen to his podcast regularly, the Voice Acting Mastery podcast. He's so generous with his knowledge and his experience,
Okay.
and he demystifies acting in a way that it is very accessible and very usable.
Yeah, he is such a cool voice actor as well, and a good voiceover coach everyone is looking forward to. Trust me, he does have a shop that recommends from beginners to actual voice actors of which tools they have to take before they could take his class. Trust me, he is such an expert. Trust me. Yeah.
One might say a voice acting master.
Yep. Okay, next question. How long did it took to make your first demo reel before you submitted to one of your agents or the producers?
Well, I am not currently represented, and from the time I started pursuing voice acting, it was probably about 2 years before I made my first demos. Um, Up till that point, I was submitting mostly samples and custom auditions for independent projects and game jams, which are very accessible to anyone without a lot of money or foundational investment, which is a great way to stretch your wings and start off on a very if it's something that you want to experiment with. But after about 2 years, I really started to um, turn my career around and really take it more seriously. And that's when I got my first set of demos from Joey Sourless, who helped write and edit them.
Well, that's really great to hear. I mean, making a demo reel could be really expensive to make. What I recommend is for people to wait about like a few years and don't go to a recording studio until they're ready. Because if they go to a studio without any acting experience, boom, their money is no more. Trust me, it's very expensive.
It can be, and there are also more affordable options because if it's something that you're learning and growing in, I recommend. I also talked with Valerie Lohman about her beginnings with voice acting and how she developed her own demos. And if you have the talent and you have the patience, if you're primarily focused on independent video games, there's nothing wrong with making your own foundational demos just to share and to get your name out there when you're first getting started. But then when you do start reaching out to agencies, like that's when you'd really want to upgrade to a more polished, competitive commercial animation demo. So there are stages and tiers that you can feel yourself growing in. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars on your first demo if you want to just try out like a small demo for maybe $100, $200, like, and feel it kind of expand as your talent and your experience expands, especially when you're just getting started. Because since I got my demo about a year ago, I've already felt such amazing growth in my own process and my abilities with all the classes I've been taking. So I feel like I'm coming to a point where I get new demos soon because my growth is still changing what the demo represents.
Yeah, true, honestly. Making a demo is very important to all aspiring actors must understood. Don't be a voice actor without a demo reel because you want your agents or the producers to show your higher range or any other range as a voice actor with all the voices they put in, you know?
Right, as a professional, a demo is a necessary tool, but when you're just getting started, it's not a requirement.
Yeah, true.
Mhm.
Okay, next question. How was it like being the voice of Avery from My Time at Sandrock? Which is your first video game to be released on Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo Switch. Yeah.
Yeah, it's my first console game, which is very exciting. And probably the things that come to mind first are the amazing community of other voice actors that are involved on this project. Erin Nicole Lundquist, Ginger Sue, so many friends and people that I've watched grow. And they're so warm and so kind. Just like in the game, it's about a small town, and these voice actors really live that with each other and create such a tight-knit community of kindness and support that is just so I'm so grateful to be a part of, especially as Avery, specifically because Avery is one of the last characters that got introduced to the game, kind of in the final chapter as things were wrapping up. And starting out, I was afraid that I'd be like, "Oh, I'm just like the tag on the end. Everyone else is going to be in a tight knit group." But then they welcomed me in with open arms, and I felt like such a part of a community, and I'm so grateful for that.
Well, that's really great to hear. I'm so happy you had a good opportunity to voice him in the console games. I am planning to get my time at Sandrock for Christmas because that's the one game I wanted to get. To hear all of your characters' voices along with your co-stars. Trust me, that's what I'm getting for Christmas this year.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, next question. What do you do when you're not in voiceover? Like, do you play sports or do you like or something? What are your hobbies that you don't do when you voice act? It could be anything.
Well, in addition to voice acting, I also have a few other side jobs that help to support my voice acting. I work at a medical school where I'm a standardized patient, and I
Mhm.
also work at a theme park where I work as a performer.
Well, that's really great to hear. I mean, I wanted to become a performer in theme park, but honestly, I wanted to try it out, but I realized I wouldn't be a good at it. Yeah, because I'm really kind of shy performing in front of the whole audiences. But at my time, I do actually remember performing in my old elementary school, which I was one of the bugs in the Bug Adventure show, and it was really short, but it was a cool musical to perform at. But yeah, I'm really glad to hear your whole hobby so far. Really glad to hear it.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Okay, next question. Have you ever been to Comic Cons where you watched the Q&A show with the voice actors of how they got their career in voiceover?
I haven't been to any panels in a Comic-Con or I have attended Anime Expo a few times, and the crowds there make it very difficult to access some of those panels. However, there are so many wonderful resources online to get to hear about people's experiences. Like earlier, I mentioned Crispin Freeman's Voice Acting Mastery podcast, where he interviews professionals and people just starting out in voice acting who all show really incredible work ethic and mindset that I really enjoy hearing their stories and learning from. Um, so there are lots of accessible resources for everybody.
Yeah, true. I mean, at the Comic Cons, I think there are some aspiring voice actors that watch the voice actors in the Q&A show. Like some of them gives them tips, and whatever they do, they just grab their notepads, write the tips of what they said, and then boom, they'll understand what they have to do for their future. Trust me, you should go one day. It's really awesome.
I would love to attend someday. Thank you.
Yep. Anime New York City is happening right now, and it's going crazy. It's like a bunch of paparazzis coming around just to have their fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Final question. What are your future roles that you would like to voice in your whole future? It could be like Marvel, Star Wars, Demon Slayer, or something. It could be anything you want to voice. Anything.
Well, those are all terrific titles that I would be honored to be a part of. Um, a few other franchises that come to mind that I'd love to contribute to someday are some video games that I play, like Genshin Impact and Cookie Run Kingdom, Honkai Star Rail, all of those like very story-rich, character stories. Those always make me so happy to play. So I'd love to contribute to those worlds someday.
Well, those are really great to hear. Hopefully, if there's a chance you can get the voice in the future, if God notices. But we'll see in the future.
Hmm.
If they choose you, you will be the perfect choice to voice in one of those games. But we'll see. Yeah.
Time will tell.
Yep. All right. That is it for this episode. Thank you so much, Max, for joining here in my podcast series. I really appreciate you having here.
I really appreciate you having me. Thank you so much.
You're very much welcome. And remember, stay awesome, stay positive, and stay happy for all of your fans and co stars. All right? Take care,
Noted.
Max.
Take care.
You too. Bye bye.